Good morning, students. So, this is lecture 5 of chapter number 4, Agriculture, class 10, subject Geography. So, now we are at the verge of completing this chapter. Only one or two topics are left, and we will finish off this chapter in today's lecture itself. So, in the previous lecture, we have discussed about contribution of agriculture to the national economy, to our employment, and the final output that agriculture gives to our country. Then we have started off with this topic that was food security. So food security was actually the food that is a basic need and every citizen of the country should have the access of it. So what are the particularly programs that the government have made to provide food to each and every person and each and every society and each and every area that they have given. So we have started off with this topic and we'll continue that today. So the topics that we are going to cover here will be food security. We will continue the topic from where we have left in the previous lecture. Then we'll discuss about impact of globalization on agriculture. So we'll discuss this topic and the summary of the entire lecture I will let you know. Then the homework. So yesterday you have done the test, so that was the only homework that you have to do. Then today homework I will give you, and after that there will be certain holiday homework that we are going to share with you on some daily basis. So their schedule have been made for you on some daily basis. So you have to do that work and you have to show up. I will let you know the time how you have to show me and when you have to show me. So you have to discuss particularly that on that particular day. So we are starting off with the lecture food security. So we have left the topic about on the focus of increasing the food grain production, which should be on a sustainable basis, and that should also give free trade in grains and create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. But now there has been a gradual shift that have been came from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oil seeds and industrial crops. So basically now what is happening that in previous years the main focus and the main cultivation was only focusing on the food crops, that were the grains and pulses cereals. They were producing these particularly food crops which are essential for human being for survival. But now there was a gradual shift that have been came from the cultivation of food crops to the cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oil seeds and industrial crops. So now the shift has been came from the food crops to the other cultivation of basic fruits. Fruits are there, vegetables are there, oil seeds and industrial crops which can give them maximum profit. So this has led to the reduction in the net swan area under cereals and pulses. The net swan area is basically a particular area that is used for agriculture purposes. So that have been reduced for the cereals and pulses now, and it has been given to majorly for cultivation of fruits, vegetables and oilseeds and for the other industrial crops which are there. So with the growing population of India, the declining food production puts a big question mark over the country's future food security. So now you know that the population is growing to such a large number. So there's a proper decline of food production, and it basically puts a big question mark for the country's future security. So how they are going to survive, because the population is increasing, the demand is increasing and the input should be to that number only. So how they are going to do it? So the competition for land between non-agriculture uses such as housing etc. and agriculture has resulted in reduction in the net swan area. So now the major competition occurs when they have given the major land area for the non-agriculture uses, such as giving them for houses, making buildings and making factories and other things, and they have taken away the land area where there could be possibility of agriculture cultivation. They have taken away that land area, and that has resulted in reduction in the net swan area for cultivation of food crops and other crops. So the productivity of land has started showing a declining trend. So now the productivity of land that could be possible, they have shown a decline. They have majorly declined. So basically, for all the fertilizers, pesticides, and insecticides we were using, like for the major production of crop area, to produce as much crops that they can produce from that particular area. So which was shown first some dramatic results because they were producing to such a large number, and it was helping them commercial in the commercial farming. But now they have been held responsible for degrading the soil. So basically it is quite responsible for degrading the soil fertility level. Now it has decreased to such a number that all the crops that we are getting, it is sort of a shade of poison, or the level of fertility the soil could produce uh, in that particular soil. All the crops that could be produced, now it cannot produce that much kind of quantity because it has the level of fertility level has been decreasing number after number whenever they are putting the fertilizer pesticides inside them. And this has also led to periodic scarcity of water, which has led to reduction in the area under irrigation. So there is proper scarcity of water as well, because there is insufficient water management. People are unnecessarily using water and they are not properly using it, and which has led to waterlogging and salinity. So basically this insufficient water management has led to reduction in the area under irrigation, and it has been led to waterlogging and salinity. Then one important reason is also land degradation. So the free power to a section of farmers has encouraged them to pump groundwater to grow water intensive crops in low rainfall areas. So now they have started off with one more thing, that is one more reason, that is land degradation. So the free power to a section of farmers that are there, they encourage them to pump groundwater to grow water intensive crops in low rainfall areas such as rice in Punjab, sugarcane in Maharashtra. So where there is no as such possibilities of growing such crops, they are pumping their groundwater to grow these particular crops with water intensive crops with low rainfall areas. So they are building up these crops in such particular areas. This unsuitable pumping has reduced water shortage in aquifers. Now because these particular areas are not good enough for such kind of crops, because rice need a lot of water intensive. Rice is basically a very water intensive crop and needs a large number of water. So this unsuitable pumping of water here and there has majorly resulted in water shortage in aquifers, and which is consequently leading to many wells and tube wells have run dry now. So there was many wells and tube wells that have been made to basically conserve this water, now have been made and they have run dry, and this has pushed the marginal and small farmers out of cultivation. So this has particularly pushed the marginal and small farmers that are there out of cultivation, and they are now they have the particular land but they can't cultivate that particular land now. And the big farmers with deeper tube wells still have water, but many others face a water crisis. But there are certainly big farmers that are there, they have certain deeper tube wells that from which they can get the water, but the others, those who don't have such kind of system with them, they are facing water crisis. And inadequate shortage of marketing facilities also act as a disincentive to the farmers. So basically this shortage of one thing or the other, they and in the market facilities also, which the number they have to give to the government or the other market sections, it is also been declined. So the rate have been also decreased for them. So basically what is happening, if there will be shortage of one thing or the other, they will not be able to make it to that number that have been provided by the market to them, that they have to give these particular crops to the market, but they are not able to do that. Thus, the farmers are badly affected by the uncertainties of production and market. So, the farmer are badly affected by the uncertainty that is happening with the production and market. So, all the they are suffering from major things. Basically, the climatic change can occur in time. So, if there's unnecessary monsoon that happen on that particular season, they can destroy the crop, and the modern techniques which they are using, that can also spoil the production. So they are basically they are having a badly effect on the uncertainty of the production and the market. So if there will be no proper cropping that have been given to them, if the cropping will be not proper, if anything uncertain happen to the production section, obviously it is going to apply to the market section. So the rate will increase in the market, the people have to suffer. So they can suffer from a double disadvantage, because they pay high prices for inputs such as HYV, seeds, fertilizers, etc., but lack the bargaining power to fix price in their favor. So the farmers face the double disadvantage of these circumstances that happen. Basically, they have to pay double for the modern things they are taking, all the HYV seeds they are taking, fertilizers they are taking, but they are not able to bargain with the market people to fix the price in their favor, so that they want higher price. They have to sell those products in that lower rate only. They can't even bargain to the market which they are selling in their favor. So all the production reaches to market stimulously. So basically, what is all the production is leading to basically what they are earning is not up to the mark what they should be getting, and the market is selling in such a high number. So the middleman and all the market sellers, the wholesalers and the retailers, they are getting all the benefits from these things, and the farmers are facing all the suffering which the from all the consequences that is happening in the production sector. So the higher the supply, the lower is the demand. So you have to study this in the future economics section as well. So about the demand and the supply thing. So the higher the supply will be, the lower is the demand. So जितना आप ज़्यादा supply करोगे, उसकी demand उतनी ही कम होती जा रही थी, and this causes distress sale also. But mainly what is happening, that if the demand is more, the supply should be also there. If the supply is not there, the demand will also start decreasing. So basically it was a change. So the supply was higher, but the demand was not that sufficient. So this has caused distress in sale also. Therefore there can be no food security without the security of the small farmers. So if the sale is not there, the proper sale is not there, so therefore there is no food security without the security of the small farmers. So they should take certain initiatives for the small farmers, so that they should also get certain security for their livelihood and their all the suffering that they have to face. So basically they were saying that the food security is incomplete without the security of the food for the small farmers here. Now we are leading back to the next topic, which is the impact of globalization of agriculture. So globalization is not a new phenomenon. So all the things which we are doing, anything which we are producing, we are having an industry, and it is giving an impact to the to worldwide. It is not included only to our country, and it is only boundary to our country only. It is for the benefit of the worldwide. So globalization is not a new phenomenon. You have heard about this word, and it was there at the time of colonization in the 19th century, when European trader came to India, and that time too Indian spices were exported to different countries of the world, and farmers of South India were encouraged to grow these crops. So basically, how globalization the impact of globalization on agriculture was there. So basically, our food crops are very essential, and we are exporting it to the other parts of the country as well. So in the 19th century also, when there was a European trade that came to India, the Indian spices that we were making, we were exporting it to the different countries of the world, and the farmers of the South Indian, they were encouraged to grow these crops more and more. So till today, it is one of the important items of export from India. So other parts of the country, they are not producing major these spices and all, but India is one of the most important one who are producing these spices, and till today we are one of the it is one of the important items that are exporting from our country to the other parts of the countries. Now, during the British period, cotton mills of India attracted the British, and ultimately cotton was exported to Britain as a raw material for their textile industry. So in the British period, we were quite famous for the cotton mills. So we were basically having a large amount and large production of cotton mills, and it has attracted the Britishers, and ultimately the cotton was one of the exported to the Britain as a raw material for their textile industries which they were building. So the cotton textile industry in Manchester and Liverpool flourished due to the availability of good quality cotton from India. So they basically, these cotton textile industries were building up in Manchester and Liverpool, that have largely flourished due to the availability of good quality of cotton that were coming from India. So you have read about the Champaran movement which started in 1917 in Bihar. So this Champaran movement was because of this only, that they were taking certainly good all the good crops from our country, and they are not giving the proper um, things to the farmers here. So this was started because the farmers of that regions were forced to grow indigo on their land because it was necessary for the textile industries which were located in Britain. So basically, it was started by the farmers of that particular regions who were building this cotton textile industry. So they were forced to grow indigo as well on their land because it was necessary for the textile industries which was located in Britain, and they were unable to grow food grains to sustain their families. So what they were saying, that these Britishers were saying that you grow as much cotton as you can, take the land, food land also for these for this particular production only, and they were not able to grow food grains for their own countries and for their own to sustain their families there. So that has led them to start a movement against them. So they started off this movement, Champaran movement, which was started in 1917 in Bihar. So under globalization, particularly after 1990s, the farmers in India have been exposed to new challenges. So after 1990, the farmer in India were exposed to certainly new challenges, which was, despite being an important producer of rice, cotton, rubber, tea, coffee, jute and spices, our agriculture production are not able to compete with the developed countries. So till now we are not till now, if we talk about, we are not even ahead of China. China is the largest producer of something. USA is one of the largest producers of something. Even we are producing all these things to such a large number. Still, we are not able to compete with all the developed countries because of the higher subsidized agriculture in those countries. So basically, they are giving large subsidies to the agriculture farmers, and that has led to reduction in the production area, and that is giving them the large profit from the agriculture part only. That's how they are more developed, and we are not in the even in the verge of that. So despite of having such an important producer of all these crops, we are still not able to compete with the developed countries because of the highly subsidized agriculture in those countries. So today, Indian agriculture finds itself at the crossroads to make agriculture successful and profitable. So Indian agriculture finds itself at the crossroads now to make agriculture successful and profitable. So they also want that agriculture should now come in the successful and profitable range, and proper thrust should be given to the improvement of the condition of marginal and small farmers. So they want to give proper things, and they want to basically improve the condition of all the marginal and smaller farmers, so that they can provide them better profits, and they can basically provide them good good success from this particular field. So the green revolution promised much. So they started off with this green revolution, where they started off with all the modern techniques. They started off educating the farmers in for the agriculture purposes. And like in my college also, there is a particular course for agriculture learning. So they are basically learning all the agriculture activities here, and trust me, there are large number of people who were studying that particular course. So it was quite essential, and it has given a lot of things to the farmers. And but today it's under controversy. It is being alleged that it has caused land degradation due to overuse of chemicals, drying aquifers, and vanishing biodiversity. But now these particular courses that this green revolution has made, it has been assigned with many controversies now, because it is basically leading to land degradation due to overuse of such chemicals which they are using, then drying aquifers, vanishing biodiversity from our country. So it is spoiling our environment. We want all the profit from the land area to use modern techniques and everything, but basically what it is doing, it is vanishing our environment only. It is vanishing all the things from our environment, and this keyword today is gen revolution. So now we don't call it as green revolution, we call it as gen revolution, which includes genetic engineering. So basically genetic engineering is recognized as a powerful supplement in inventing new hybrid varieties of seeds. So they want to invent such seeds now which cannot spoil the fertility level of soil, and it could not drive the fires. The overuse of chemicals should not be there. It should be basically they want to have such supplement which invent the only hybrid variety of seeds which could just not spoil the environment, and the amount that the production was giving from these things, it should be the same. So Indian farmers should diversify their cropping pattern from cereals to high value crops. So now because of these things, the Indian farmers should think of diversifying their cropping pattern from the cereals to the high value crops. So they thought that they should change their cropping pattern from not giving the production to major cereals. They should give who are in the large demand. So they want to produce only those crops which are high value crops, which are giving them high profit. So this will increase the income and reduce environmental reduction simultaneously. So all the crops which are high in demand and people want it, they should have that particular production only, and this can lead to increase in the income of the farmers, and this can also reduce the environmental degradation simultaneously. So because fruits and medicinal herbs, flowers, vegetables, biodiesel crops like jadrofa and jojoba needs much less irrigation than rice or sugarcane. So they basically all the fruits related things, medical herbs, medicinal herbs, flowers, vegetables, biodiesel crops, all these things, they don't need much of irrigation than rice or sugarcane can give. So India's diverse climate has been harnessed to grow a wide range of high value crops. So now the India have changing their cropping pattern, and India is diversifying their to grow a large range of high value crops now. In fact, all the organic farming is much in vogue today, because it is practiced without factory made chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides. So now the timing has been changed. They are shifting this chemical ranging products to the organic farming now. The shift is also came now because we have spoiled the environment to such a large number. Now these incidents is happening around us. We are under lockdown. We are not even able to move outside. So now they thought, even it was implanted before, also before this lockdown, that organic farming should be the topmost priority, and it is much in vogue today because they are practicing without factory made chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides, and hence it does not affect environment in a negative manner. So it is not actually affecting them in a negative manner. A few economists think that Indian farmers have a bleak future if they continue growing food grains on the holding that grow smaller and smaller as the population rises. So basically, all the economists, they have thought that the Indian farmers, they are in the bleak future. Bleak future means in a light future, that if they continue to grow all the food grains only onto holding smaller to small to grow smaller and smaller as the population rises, because India's rural population is about 600 million, which depends upon 250 million acres of agricultural land, an average of less than half an acre per person. So basically, India's rural population is about 600 million, which depends on approximately 250 million acres of agricultural land only. And an average of one person can say that it's less than half an acre per person. So this is whole as a lecture. We can have a summary of this lecture, what we have discussed in this particular lecture now. So how are food grains procured, and what are the disadvantages and advantages of this particular method? So the FCI, they have basically procures all the food grains for the market at the minimum support price, and the government used to provide subsidies for all the agricultural inputs like fertilizers, water, etc. But these have now reached sustainable levels and have also led to large-scale insufficiencies in the use in their scarce inputs. And then there is excessive use of water and fertilizers have led to waterlogging, salinity, and depletion of micronutrients in the soil. The high MCP subsidies in input and committed FCI purchases have distorted the cropping pattern. Wheat and paddy crops grown in Punjab and Haryana are for the MSP they get, and which has created serious imbalance in intercrop partings. Now, how are consumers divided? What are its drawbacks and its disadvantages? So, consumers are divided into low poverty line, which we have discussed in the previous lecture, and above poverty line. However, this category is not perfect, as a number of deserving poor are excluded from the BPL category, and some of the so-called APL slip back to BPL. Because of the failure of one crop, it is administratively difficult to accommodate such shifts. Then how can you become self-sufficient? So self-sufficiency can be attained if government provides proper agricultural infrastructures, credit linkage, and also encourage the use of latest technologies. Instead of concentrating only on wheat or rice, the food crop with a better growth potential in that particular area must be encouraged, and creation of necessary infrastructure like irrigation facilities, availability of electricity, etc. also attract private investments in agriculture, and the focus on increasing food grain production, which should be on a sustainable basis, also lead to trade in grains, which create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. So what is the future of India's food security? What will be the current future of India's food security? So India shift from cultivation of food crop to cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oil seeds, and industrial crops. This has led to reduction of net swan area under cereals and pulses, and the competition for land between the non-agricultural uses and agriculture has reduced to in the net swan area. Productivity of land is declined due to the fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides, and scarcity of water has led to reduction of area under irrigation, whereas insufficient water management has led to waterlogging and salination. So this is the measurements that have been came the food grains production. So all the cereals that are there, rice, wheat, coarse pulses, from 2006 to 2011, it has been increasing only. It is not declining. So the total that have been came from 2006 and 2007 was 201.4 to 215.8 now. So it is the food grain production of cereals have been increasing, but not to such a large number. It is just increasing in a stable way. In every year we see that. So why this food grain production have basically removed all these things? What are the major reasons? So land degradation, reduced water shortage, storage in aquifers due to unsustainable pumping, inadequate shortage and marketing facilities. Farmers have to pay high price for HYBCs, fertilizers, etc., but lack in bargaining power to fix price in their own favor. Then higher the supply, lower is the demand. This cause has distressed the sale. Therefore, there can be no food security without security of small farmers. Now the impact of globalization on agriculture. So in the 19th century, when European traders came to India, Indian spices were exported to different countries of the world and farmers were encouraged to grow these crops. Even today, one of the crop export items from India during the British period, cotton bills of India attracted the British and eventually cotton was exported to Britain as a raw material for their textile industries. The Champaran movement started in 1917 in Bihar because the farmers of that region were forced to grow indigo for British textile industries, and under globalization, particularly after 1990, Indian farmers have been exposed to new challenges despite India being an important producer of rice, cotton, rubber, tea, coffee, jute and spices. Our agricultural products are not able to compete with the developed countries due to their highly subsidized agriculture in those countries. Now, to make agriculture successful and profitable, proper thrust should be given to the improvement of the condition of marginal and small farmers. And the Green Revolution promised much, but it is being alleged that it can cause land degradation, and the key word today is Gen Revolution, which included genetic engineering. In fact, all the organic farming is such in vogue today because it is practiced without factory-made chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides. Hence, it does not affect environment in a negative manner. So, Indian farmers have a bleak future if they continue to grow all the food grains on the holding that grow smaller and smaller as the population rises. Indian farmers should diversify their cropping pattern from cereals to high value crops. So this can actually increase the income and reduce environmental degradation simultaneously, and India's diverse climate can be harnessed to grow a wide range of high value crops. And final, did you know that all the organic agriculture, if we do, it can adapt to climate change more quickly than all the chemicals and fertilizers if they use that. So this is we have completed the chapter. Still, if you have queries from any of the topic, you can ask me anytime. Now the homework that I want to assign you in this lecture is to the following questions. Name one important beverage crop and specify the geographic condition required for its growth. Name one staple crop of India and the regions where it is produced. And third, the land under cultivation has got reduced day by day. Can you imagine its consequences? So you have to answer these questions. So I don't know if your holidays are going to start, so we will not be able to give you the summary of this lecture and the question answer lecture. So we will finish off after the holidays, but there are certain holiday homework that I am assigning you on a daily basis, so you have to do that and you have to submit to me weekly twice. You don't have to submit me on a daily basis. You can submit basically fixed 2 days for you. I will let you know about those days when you have to show me your homework that you are doing or not. So we'll fix that later. Still, you have queries from any of the topic, you can ask me anytime in the comment section or the student inquiry section, or you can ask me directly also. DM me on my number if you want to. And if you still have any problem in apart from all these things, if you are facing anything, if you want to share anything, you can ask me that too. I am here to help you out in any of the things or any mentally problem that you are facing or anything, because this quite a problem that is going on and you have to stay at home. You're not talking to many people, you're not even able to meet your friends, so obviously there's a disturbance that have been created in the mind, and there's a lot of conflicts that have been creating in your mind. So if you want to share anything, I'm here to listen to each and everything, because it is going to help you to maintain the peace of your mind. So that's it for this lecture. Thank you so much. Please take care of your health and your family as well. Thank you so much.